Now, the other thing I wanted to do to tell you about you, there are 1,600 people, I believe. Our estimation is that probably 45 of you are absolutely passionate about classical music. You adore classical music. Your FM is always on that classical dial. You have CDs in your car and go to the symphony. Your children are playing instruments and you can imagine your life without classical music. That's the first group, quite small group. There's now a bigger group, people who don't mind classical music. You know, you come home from a long day and you take a glass of wine and you put your feet up and little bit background doesn't do any harm. And that's the second rule. Now comes the third rule. People who never listen to classical music. It's just simply not a part of your life. And you might hear it like secondhand smoke at the airport. And maybe a little bit of remark from either when you come to the hall, but otherwise you never hear it. That's probably the luckiest rule. And then there's very small group. There are people who think they are tone deaf. Amazing number of people think that tone deaf. Actually, I hear a lot. My husband is tone deaf. Actually, you cannot be tone deaf. Nobody is tone deaf. If you were tone deaf, you could change the gears on your car in a stick-shift car. You couldn't tell the difference between somebody from Texas and somebody from Rome. And the telephone is your mother calls on the miserable telephone. She calls and says, hello, not only who he is, you know what mood he's in. You have a fantastic ear. Everybody has a fantastic ear. So nobody is tone deaf. But I tell you what, it doesn't work for me to go on with this thing with such a wide gulf between those who understand, love, and are passionate about classical music and those who have no relationship to it at all. The tone deaf people, they're no longer here, but even though to those is too wide gulf. No, so I'm not going on until every single person in this room, downstairs and in Aspen and everywhere else looking, will come to love and understand classical music. So that's what we're going to do. Now you notice that there's not the slightest doubt in my mind that this going to work. If you look into my face, it's one of the characteristics of a leader that he's not doubt for one moment the capacity of the people he's leading to realize whatever he's dreaming. Imagine if Martin Luther King has said, I had a dream. Of course, I'm not sure they won't be up to it. Alright, so I'm going to take a piece of Chopin. This is Beautiful Prelude by Chopin. Some of you will know it. To those that I think probably happened here when I started, you thought how beautiful that sounds. I don't think we should go to the same place for our summer holidays next year. It's funny, isn't it? It's funny how those thoughts kind of walk into your head. And of course, if this piece is long and you have a long day and you might actually drift out, then the companion will dig you in the ribs and say, wake up, it's contra, and you feel even worse. But it had ever occurred to you that the first reason classical music is not because of you, but it's because of you. Did anything, why is you so many impulses? I've done it with my head. You certainly probably doubt it. And for the rest of your life, every time you hear classical music, you'll always be able to know if you hear the impulse